Chris McMonigle and Willie Colon filling in for the guys yet again on this Tuesday morning. We're coming to you live from the Built Ford Tough studio right here at WFAN. And yes, the Yankees get a win. Does it matter all that much? I don't know. It's against the lousy Twins they always beat. But it feels like around these parts, we never just talk about what's going on. We got to delve back into all the issues that have been going on for the last 20 years. I am tired of the past. Willie, how are you? How are we doing this morning?
Made me nervous. You sounded.
I made you nervous?
It didn't make me nervous,
Okay.
but I didn't know what type of mood you were in. And you
I'm in a better mood.
You were. I didn't sleep well, so
No?
It's tough to sleep when the kid's in the bed, and I woke up at 1 o'clock thinking I missed the show.
Oh, that's the worst feeling.
I saw a light flickering in my room, and I assumed it was the sunlight coming in, and I was like, "Oh no." Poor Chris. I left Chris hanging. So I
would just
bad.
yelled about the Yankees all morning.
I
But
know.
yes, no, I would have missed you. That's the worst, especially years behind the glass. We always have the dreams too. It's not just the wake up; it's the dreams.
The dreams.
It's the board op dreams. The dreams of like you're locked outside the room and the show's going and you can't push the buttons
that's a
and you're
thing.
playing kid. Oh, that's a legit thing.
So Eddie has experienced this too.
I would think so. I think we've all had the dream. Flea.
Eddie has confirmed that
Yeah.
he has them.
When
Not as
I-
frequently
guys-
as he used to. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I had one like 3 days ago.
Yeah, it's part of the. Yeah,
And this is your what for you?
13.
And you
It was
still
on the
haven't-
day where I took off, and just for whatever reason, like my mind was guilting me for not being here.
That's the worst thing as a ball player, man. There were times that especially big game week, we got a big rivalry come up.
Yeah.
I would sleep hard. I just didn't sleep well. And I would pop up like in the middle of the night thinking like I missed the first half of the game.
Yeah.
But like wake up in like a panting
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, no, it's scary.
So,
I'm telling you,
I
we
felt
all
a little
have
bit of that last night.
Well, I feel like we can't escape the dream or nightmare of the past of these franchises. And I was thinking about this all day yesterday. I was listening to the fan and on social media as well. Like I'm Joel Sherman and a lot around the Yankees specifically, but I was
Yep.
thinking about the teams in general because every time, like I know the Yankees have struggled here. And we understand that they have a lot of similar things in common throughout the past, but it just feels like we can never just talk about the team. Every time we talk about the Yankee struggles, it's like this every year. Brian Cashman and the organization. This goes back to 2004. This is just a debacle. Everyone needs to clean house. How is this tolerated? The same thing instead of just looking at this team and it's the same thing and going the other way too. Like Aaron Boone, there's plenty of teams that are in the same position we are, that have been worse than we are, and we found a way. Like, we never just break down, like, what's up with this team right now? Because as frustrating as the history of this team has been, right? And again, you're going back to the recent history. We talk about, every year I've seen this movie play out. Every year we know what happens. Well, last year, the movie went longer than every other team except the Dodgers. Like, they were in the World Series last year. Who cares about their record in June or July when they're in Game 5 of the World Series? Like,
Facts.
that no longer means anything to me.
Well, I think that's why yesterday felt cathartic, right?
Yes,
'Cause
a little bit.
It felt normal to see Will Warren take him into the seventh, for our bats to be batting, for Stan and Rice and all those guys to be able to kind of get us going, man. And even Chisholm hit one late. It felt like old Yankee baseball.
Yeah.
Right? It felt like, all right, good pitching, power bats, beat the Twins.
Yep.
It felt
Well,
normal.
It did. It was that. And I take very little away from it, to be totally honest with you. Like we talked about
but
yesterday.
with that said.
no, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
just, my point is, you're 100% right. It felt like the world was in the right place. It felt like
For
this
once.
is Yankee
Yes,
baseball.
yes.
They pound the Twins. They hit home runs. They got a good pitching performance, which was really, to me, Will Warren and the way he pitched last night is the one thing you really do come away with a positive feeling about.
Right.
I think Will Warren did pitch a great game last night, and the Twins have some guys, and Buxton got him, and there is some, even though they traded away a 10 guys out of a 26-man roster. So it's as bad as it gets for the Minnesota Twins. So you don't take too much. It's more of just at least they didn't blow this one, because you
That's
thought
what it
for a
felt
second.
like, especially at the end of the game. You see Boone
Yeah.
look up in the stands, and he's just like, whoever he was looking at, like, oh, God. You're like,
No, he
thank
does that.
God.
I don't know who he looks at. I don't know who's in the stands, but he's always like this.
Yes. I think imagine his family,
It
right?
must be his family
Yeah,
out in the
yeah.
stands, given the big emphatic win. But last night was more of at least they didn't blow this game, and they did what they normally do, beat the Minnesota Twins. The record is ridiculous. It's like 124 and 44.
Something like that.
Over the last 168 games.
They
or
own the
something.
Twins,
It's
like you
crazy.
said.
They own the Twins. So it's a nice, comfortable win. I don't think you take too much out of the game other than Will Warren. But it's the same thing, and I wanted to incorporate the football teams too, because I just feel like as we talk about it, it's always like the Jets have to overcome their history. The Giants, and I hear Evan a lot talk about it. Evan says a lot of things. Yesterday he was talking about, you can't match up this Yankee team to the Dynasty team. And I think that's a lot of a problem for the New York Yankee fan. He also doesn't understand the optimism for the Giants and Jets because of the history. Like, you can't have it both ways. Like, I look at every team individually. And that's my point about the Yankees. Yeah, we could talk about the issues Brian Cashman's have, but let's be honest. We're mad because this team is better than they're playing. There are fundamental issues with the organization, sure. But if you just look at this team, they should be better than this. And I look at the New York Giants and I look at the Jets and I say to myself, I don't care about Robert Saleh and every other, regime that came through the Jets. I want to start fresh with this team this year. I look at the Giants and I say to myself, I don't care about what's happened in the past and the mismanages from John Mara or whatever else. I want to look at this team and say, you know what? They might have an elite pass rush.
Well, yeah. Listen, first of all, every organization is going to rest on its laurels.
Right.
You know what I mean? To some degree, right? The Jets are always going to pull back from their late 2000 run, back-to-back years going to the AFC Championship. The Giants are going to pull off their Super Bowl run, especially when Eli and him beating the Pats and on, and the Yankees going to pull off the 09 series.
Mm-hmm.
Nevertheless, man, I think the mistakes, and I think why people somehow come optimistic, because you always feel like you're always one thing away from turning it around, right? And because you feel like the sauce was already made in the kitchen, the recipe's got to be in there, somewhere. So it's a matter of how do we tap back in there. But I think we sometimes underestimate that, decisions hurt.
Yeah.
They can hurt you for the long run. And I know in the Jets case, drafting Zach Wilson.
No,
hurt.
It kills you.
Not drafting, not having a scouting department to really vet through guys and get quality ball players, not guys with name and size.
Right.
Quality matters in all sports, right?
Yeah.
And like I was just watching a highlight, I posted it on my IG. There's a 5'11" center by the name of Willie Lampton.
Okay.
And Baldy posted him up.
Yeah.
Kid had 3 pancakes against the Cowboys in the preseason.
Yeah.
Kid was an undrafted free agent, right?
Yeah.
But so you look at the guy, 5'11" center, no way. But he's rolling guys like cheap carpet, right? So it's like it's the quality of the ball player that matters. It's not always the name, size, and whatever characteristics you deem the mold for your organization. Sometimes it takes guys and in the front office to like really say, hey, where do we want our franchise to be? Because listen, this is why I am happy that they signed Sauce and they signed Quentin and they signed Garrett Wilson, because that's the foundation in your team, meaning in the New York Jets. And so when you find the foundation, the cornerstones, then you build on things, right? And I think the Yankees have been able to do it for the most part. Mm-hmm. The Mets seemed like they had, to your point, I thought the Mets were going to be a lot better this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought they were, especially coming off the year they had last year.
Right.
And then I think the Jets right now, they're just looking for some type of stability, right? Because it's just been a roller coaster for the last 8 years. So we'll see. But I agree with you.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. Like, to get to the Russell, like to your Zach Wilson point, Zach Wilson hurt the Jets. Zach Wilson's not here anymore. And I can't.
And he still stinks.
And the people who drafted him aren't here anymore.
No.
And so it's like, it's time to like put that aside and look at the team as it sits. Same thing with the Yankees. You can't chase like what used to be, right? But
every organization does that.
I understand.
Me being a former Steeler, the Steelers do it. I mean, like all the great organizations, the Pats do it.
Yeah.
All these great organizations will always look for that picturesque moment on the wall where you walk by, like, these are the glory days.
Right.
Like every organization does that.
Yeah, I know. Like, the Giants are big on that. Like, I can't tell you how many calls I take, and they go, and that's why this year I'm surprised there isn't more optimism with the Giants, because it's like, oh, when we won, it was the linebackers, or when we beat Tom Brady, it was the interior pass rush. Because, well, hopefully that's coming back this year, but that's not the only way to go about winning a championship. It's not the only way to go about building a great team. You don't need the great linebacking core. If you like, that helps, but you can build teams the other way. And we're always like, I just feel like, especially now with the Yankees too, like it's just all we talk about in baseball. I was listening all morning long in the overnight.
Yeah.
It's nothing about the starting pitchers don't do this anymore, and this doesn't happen anymore, and it's not like it used to be, and we should have kept it this way. And that's fine, but you can't point to it and say this is why they're losing when it's a widespread problem across the league. Like, we're hung up on what used to be instead of just focusing on the failures and positives of what's right in front of us. And I'm tired of that conversation.
I think as a whole, as a society, I don't mean to become a little philosophical, we're an impulsive culture.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we everything has to be microwave. We want to be able to plug it in, get instant result, and walk and move on.
Right.
That's not sports, right? There's a development process in everything you do. So when you do hear guys or people say, "Hey, man, you know, when the Yankees had, Pettit and Mariota, look what we had."
Right.
I'm just like, yeah, but those guys developed, right? Like I heard Brady talking about, I forgot what he was watching on somebody's podcast, but they were asking him about the state of the quarterback and how does he feel about young quarterback. He goes, physically, I think they're way more developed because he's right. You turn on YouTube, right? YouTube or Instagram, there's a million throwing videos, right? There's now a million personal coaches and trainers. But from the emotional standpoint and the educational standpoint, a lot of these guys are behind, right? A la Anthony Richardson.
Right.
A la Anthony Richardson, if Anthony Richardson was playing, and I hate to say during my time, but back in the early, when I got drafted in 2006, I was there, my rookie year, I was there when Bart Scott almost knocked out Ben Roethlisberger because he was looking the other way. Right. Same thing happened to Anthony Richardson. That hit upside his head when he ended up hurting his finger, that was all Anthony Richardson's
100%. No,
like
he's got to recognize there's a man coming off the edge there. That's the way
but there's enough. He's been a part of enough football where he has to be. First of all, it was a scat protection, meaning he's an empty backfield.
Yeah.
But he should be. He's played enough football to know that there's a free rush. I have to get rid of the ball, and especially when it was built-in curl route for him to do a quick dump.
Right.
But physically, he meets the bar and above. But from between the ears, he's not there.
Yeah. And
so that's what we're starting to see a lot of see. And it's really kind of like across the board with a lot of things, A lot of these guys are way more physically developed, but in between the ears, we got to get them more developed, and that comes from developmental. That's kind of building guys through a system and through a process.
Which is what, we're constantly talking about the New York Yankees and the farm system and the issues of Brian Cashman, and I understand that. And to your point, that's definitely an issue, and as we watch it, if the Yankees fail this year, right, I totally am on board. I was on board after 2023 when the roster looked the way it did. If Brian Cashman and the New York Yankees fail, it is absolutely warranted to talk about cleaning house. But I just feel like we've gotten away from, because it's the only thing people want to talk about. Yeah. We want to talk about how the entire organization has been built from top to bottom, the differences between this and the Dynasty team when they did things the way we liked them to do. And then we look at teams, and especially people are more interested, and I was talking about this with Fliegelman outside, people are more interested in comparing the New York Yankees to the 1999, 1998, 2000 New York Yankees than their current competition, who do things very similarly. Like, analytics is such an evil word, and we point to it as the main problem of the New York Yankees. When you look around baseball, and every team is doing things very similarly than the New York Yankees and very, analytically driven and doing the same stuff. We talk about the Mets and the only going 5 innings with their starting staff. Look around baseball. That is a major fundamental problem with baseball.
But you're hitting it right on the head. When your money doesn't work, your ego hurts.
Right.
And when you lose a World Series to Dodgers who spends big and won big, and you're the team that does the same thing, you're like, well, are we cursed? Where did we go wrong? So you kind of have like this victim mentality.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. And that's why I push back, and I'm the Yankee shield, because I'll say to myself, I'm one of these crazy fans who will look at the World Series, right? And I will say, if Freddie Freeman was a half a second earlier or later.
Oh, just don't put Cortez in that spot.
Granted, obviously, right? I don't think it's as bad a decision as most do, but I get it, sure. But if he's a half a second later, half a second earlier, and that's a fly ball to right field. If Aaron Judge doesn't drop a pop-up that he catches 1,000 times out of 1,000, and the Yankees go back to L.A. up 3-2 and win that series, is everything the Yankees doing okay? Are all the issues that the Yankees have no longer existent? If this team, as Aaron Boone said, and I didn't want to hear it, I don't think any Yankee fan does, but say this team does go on a run, which we have seen crazier things happen. I don't want to hear the manager necessarily say it, but crazier things happen. If this team goes on a run, do we forget? What happens here?
We're always going to forget.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
We're always going to be that. We're always going to be that. That blink of an eye fan, because our lives are enough to deal with.
Right.
We cannot continue to be that emotionally invested in a team. We just want to see them get it together. Right. Like anything. I tell my kids when they're acting up, just get it together. I got spaghetti on the stove. Yeah. I got people calling my phone. The wife chilling. Just figure it out.
Yeah.
And then I come back and we can celebrate it.
Right. Exactly.
And then my kids look at me like, oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah. And they do.
Right. No, I get it. So, listen, that's what it comes down to. It comes down to winning. Last night they were able to do that. It's against the Minnesota Twins. We'll see if that can spark them. I expect them to still play well in this series, and then we'll see from beyond there. But I'm just like, every conversation has to be boiled down. We got Joel Sherman. We got former Yankees. We got everyone wants to talk about the issues inside the team. Whatever we think about Brian Cashman and the way Chris, Yankees have handled business, this team's better than this.
But Chris, let me where do we pull from if we're trying to look for motivation? Where does our compass lead us? It's always going to lead us back to the glory days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's the source.
Right.
Like, like one thing I tried, I think I stated this yesterday, like, especially when I'm talking to younger guys in the league or I'm around younger guys, I try to adjust my mindset. How I played in the style we played is not today's football.
Yeah.
Right? So you got to kind of pull yourself out of that. I'm like, this is a different game, different time. It is what it is. You got to be able to adjust. Yeah. And so that's what I try to do. I think it's hard for the sports fan, the avid ones, the diehards like yourself, to kind of not say, hey, that was just a different time, different era, yada, yada, yada. Different makeup.
No, I get it. I'm just, the constant, delving deep into all the teams, right? The 15-year no playoff for the Jets. The idea that, Brian Daboll's failed the last couple of years. They've been as bad, the season's dead. And I'm not immune to it. I do it myself sometimes. Yeah. But, like, sometimes you got to be able to just look at what's going on, and good and bad, because right now the Mets and Yankees are terrible. But they're terrible on their own. And I don't think it's necessarily because of some fundamental flaw that dates back 35 years into why the Yankees are failing right now. I just don't. Or why the Mets are failing right now. I think it's about something's up with this team, not necessarily the way they've done business for a quarter century.
I don't disagree with you from that aspect, but I do have to push back because if you're not willing to celebrate the little wins, you'll never be able to celebrate anything. Right. Like, you started the show like, it was a meaningless game against the Twins. We own the Twins. All right, then when are you happy? You asked for this team to turn it around.
That's fair.
You've asked them to do something. We've asked their pitching to go past 6. Yeah. We asked our bats to bat, and everything came into fruition. And we're like, but still we have a problem.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of pushing back on that narrative. I can't get too excited about beating the Minnesota Twins. That was more of just last night was a solid win. You had to have it. Don't get me wrong. A loss would have been disastrous, so the win is positive. But it's not a win that necessarily I'm going to go and start to believe that that's the beginning of a run that they need.
No, you want to see them own the Twins, correct.
They own the Twins. Yep. They hit some solo home runs. They did have an inning where they got a couple of hits that scored some runs, and they got a good pitching performance, and the back end of the bullpen looked great. So there are positives to that. There's no doubt. Last night was an overall very positive game for the New York Yankees, but it is still a Minnesota Twins team that they own, plus they literally traded 10 out of 26 players on the team. So, that's a game you have to go take. Now, continue to build. But I'm so hung up on listening all day yesterday to everybody. That's all we talk about. It's the same thing every year.
Chris,
Can we
to
talk
your point,
this team?
We did the same thing yesterday. I mean, we a little bit. We did the same thing. And nevertheless, we were coming off a week. We were coming off a weekend where both teams were absolute horrible. Yeah. Right? And then we lost. And then we witnessed Mariano tear his Achilles.
I know.
It felt like a horrible baseball
week. And that was part of it, too, because it's old time.
We didn't even talk about Alonso tying Strawberry's record.
That's
we barely
true.
mentioned it.
That's true. And he's got a chance to do it tonight at home against the Atlanta Braves. Big game, big start for Clay Holmes. So both teams playing big games tonight. Hopefully the beginning of a run for this particular team that has nothing to do with the Met team that was 11 games under 500 and went on a run because Pete Alonso's not the same player he was last year. Francisco Lindor certainly isn't the same player he was last year. The pitching staff isn't the same. And for the New York Yankees, hopefully last night, although I don't have much confidence, hopefully last night was the beginning of a stretch of good baseball. We'll get into that. We'll get into the idea that why there is positivity for our football teams. Also, a couple of things about around the league and how teams that are in big-time winning mode are making decisions with their players that I don't understand. So we're going to talk to Willie about that as well. McMonigle and Willie Colon filling in for Boomer and Gio on this Tuesday morning.